Hi, I'm Dave, owner of Future Past Vintage Collectibles, here with my daughter Rachel.
Hello.
As we are every week, talking about comic content.
Yes.
What do we have going on?
Well, we are comic dealers and we sell comic books. And if you want to check out the stuff that we sell, head over to Instagram, where we do claim sales every Monday at 5 p.m. where we feature high-grade books, and every Friday at 11 a.m. where we sell really affordable back issues, and we do tons of deals, hundreds of deals, $5 and less.
Yeah.
Comics, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard on Friday.
Also, we buy collections. Any collections, any size, big or small, from anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world. Just let us know. We buy collections. Our information's in the description. You ready?
I'm ready.
Boy, do I have something to show you. Rachel, throw that up on the screen. Cover the whole screen as much as you can. This is Grips number 2, guys. Behold.
It's from Silver Wolf, 1986.
I know you've probably never seen a cover this great. I want to walk everyone through this. First of all, I picked up a whole set of these in a collection. This is the first run. There was another run after this. Tell them about the artist.
His name is Tim Vigil. He is probably most well known for this cover, or for this series called Faust. Here's the number 1 issue from 1989. From North Star Comics.
So let's go back to Grips number 2. This is my favorite cover from this short run. Let's look at what he's doing. So he's on this rooftop, and there's this strange, I don't know if it's, it looks like it could have been Mars.
It looks like a solar eclipse.
Yeah. Okay, an eclipse.
That's probably what it is.
Maybe an eclipse. And we're in some urban environment. This is a black and white comic. And so he's been in some kind of battle because he's got these huge metal talons. And he's on this rooftop. There's blood on the walls. And I love, that's a pigeon, I assume. Could be a dove. I don't know.
It's white. Yeah, I don't know.
Could be a dove. It looks like he could have been crying. Now, Rachel doesn't see it.
I don't think he's crying personally.
He's got a little grimace on his face. And he's got like the lights in his eyes and something coming down out of that eye. I don't know. But man, have you ever seen stomach muscles like that in your life? This guy's ripped.
I think it's so ugly, but that's me. You know?
So art is definitely subjective, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Some people like some covers, they don't like others. I also like the trade dress on this. It's really indicative of a street art style, a younger style that's doesn't follow the rules necessarily.
It's like graffiti.
I mean, linear perspective and other things aren't that important here. It's just more about conveying a message. Let's move on to another book that people thought had an awesome cover. What?
We're not going to explain what's happening.
This is brand new. Just came out. People love it.
People love it.
People love it. Rachel's going to pull it up.
Here it is.
Boom.
X-Force number 48 by John Cassidy.
It kind of reminds me of like a Staffordshire Terrier a little bit right there. And there's been a long history of covers that some people are like, what is going on there? That doesn't look right. It's a perspective issue again because it doesn't look proportionate.
Well, let me show another cover by John Cassidy that I really like. It's the Star Wars cover, Star Wars number 4. That's a great cover. I love that.
It's interesting though. Now I'm really looking at this cover and I see it. I see that he drew both covers. It's the way he draws bodies. It's interesting. I mean, I don't hate that other cover. I mean, it's all right. I think it's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny. And maybe that's the whole point.
I'd own that.
Just for the commodity of it all.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's popular. And he might have known that. I don't know.
It is hot right now. It's like a hot book.
I like it. I don't know why. I just kind of like it.
Here's another one.
This was the hot book of the week last year for a similar reason.
And this is Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance number 1 from 2023. It's by Frank Miller. And it's interesting. It's very cubey.
Yeah, so this got panned, and Frank Miller is an older guy at this point. This definitely has some rustic elements to it. People were like, oh, that, whatever someone wants to say it's negative, and at the same time it's selling out. So
I mean, it's popular. And it also, it kind of does look
out,
like
right?
this other book that he did, which you mentioned, which was Batman The Dark Knight number 2.
And this is much earlier in his career.
That was the early 90s,
yeah,
late 80s. And then he did that whole series, so I'll put the number 1 up as well, because that one's really popular. And it's a great cover. I don't hate this Batman cover either. It's different. It's a different style of Batman that I've never seen before.
There were people ripping this apart when it came out, though, for the same reasons that they thought that he was, maybe they thought he was muddying up, the genre. But he was being an artist, and artists they have creative license to do whatever they want to do. I mean,
That's
if
true.
they want to draw like this, it's their art form we're enjoying. They're not going to want to dance to our song. We're supposed to dance to theirs.
Right. Well, and
if
people like it.
If we don't like everything an artist does, it's an oh well situation.
That's so true.
So show us another cover.
So this next one isn't actually a comic cover. It's just a piece of art that Rob Liefeld drew of Captain America. That's like, everyone knows about this, or should know about this, where his chest is huge.
Oh, you think that's big?
We actually just showed in one of our claim sales another cover that he did of like the new Captain America that's like an homage to this.
My favorite part about this is not just his chest, it's his waist. Look at his belt.
It's funny, when I was looking up this picture, there's so many memes of this drawing making fun of it because his chest is so big.
Even his shield has stretch marks. I mean,
just like scratches. Yeah. And then he's probably best known for his cover of New Mutants 98 as Deadpool. And that cover's great. People love that cover.
So people rip this apart, but at the same time, they want to own it. There's other covers or pictures that people have created that people may not think fits into the rest of their work, but I like to look at this.
We looked at it. Here's another one. We've talked about this one a lot because we think it's funny. It's Marvel Team Up 117 with the big boots. Wolverine's Big Boots.
Yeah, so...
by Bob Layton. This is from 1982.
The interesting part of this, and tell me if you had a similar experience. I'm curious to know. Leave a comment. So the first time I saw this, I'm like, this is cool.
It is a cool cover. The perspective is just weird.
I didn't read it. I'm going through books. A long time ago, I'm like, this is a cool cover. I didn't dig into it. It was like a glance. And at another time, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that cover because I thought it was cool the first time. I'm cleaning it, going through it, getting ready to press one. When you do that, you're really looking at things. I'm looking at this cover, I'm like, wait a minute. What is going on with that boot?
His legs all crazy.
From the knee up, it's great. I mean, it really is. Bob Layton is a really good artist. I'm not saying the art's bad, but I'm just saying those boots are interesting because
compared to the rest of it,
the boot in the foreground, it is so large, and if you were going to actually create boots for a person that looked exactly like those boots, I would love to see someone walking in those boots. That's just all I'm saying. Another Bob Layton. I was thinking, what Bob Layton would I put forward that I would like to represent as some of his work that's my favorite? Captain America 230. It's a book that when I find it in the grade that I would like to have a copy of this that looks like it just rolled off the printing press. But
I've never seen this cover before.
Yeah, I showed a copy of a picture of this to Rachel, and we actually had a copy of this we sold. So you actually have seen it?
I just don't remember it. It didn't affect me in a way.
And I do think the longer you do this, things will start to get stickier and stickier because you're starting to remember a lot of things.
I mean, I definitely recognize a lot of things, but but this is from 1979, Captain America 230. Definitely has different vibes.
You like it?
Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's just yeah.
I mean, superhero covers are not my favorite covers, but like I like the Hulk in it. Like that's a fun little. The Hulk's in it, you know. I don't know. Whatever. The next comic artist we're talking about, Sam Keith. He did this cover of Marvel Comics Presents 93.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in the same vein where you look at a cover like this and it may not compel you to reach down into the rack and grab it.
It doesn't excite me. It's like Pirate Wolverine. He's got a hoop earring.
Well, you ever heard of Motorhead?
Yeah.
It's Lemmy Wolverine.
That's good.
He's going to crack out some ace of spades with 2 knives in his hand. There was a lot of stuff that Sam Keith did, and I remember buying them in my pool box. And people were polarized if they liked his large, chunky style. I showed Rachel some covers today, and she immediately liked it. So,
well, I like this one. This is the Max #1 that he is known for, and I like that cover.
And that style was kind of hit or miss. So the Max,
like super 90s vibe.
In terms of like some people liked it and some people didn't, and I could see why it could be polarizing because it's not mainstream.
Yeah, it's very like independent. It's an Image comic,
Yeah.
so it's already not like Marvel DC.
And that was really, it was popular and it sold a lot of copies. And I've heard news recently, something about it being optioned, or it's made some news recently and had a little heat.
Okay.
But it was printed at a high level and it was early in Image. So yeah, it's very artistic. It's very unique. And I like Sam Keith. I really like the run in Marvel Comics Presents. I did like his art. I thought it was cool, and I thought it was masculine, and it was in your face, so I dug it. But anyway, I think there's always a lot of artists that some people just really dig and some others don't, and that's why they make different color Cadillacs.
That's true.
All right, we're going to talk about something else. We talk around this topic a lot, and it's important for us to talk about this because I think that people are interested in it, and I also know that the people that view our channel and watch us, we appreciate that, by the way, and we enjoy doing this. We love the discussions that happen in our comments. Please keep doing that. You guys are way smarter than us, especially as a community, so we learn a lot, by reading the comments, and we read every one. People ask often, like, how do you look things up and how do you get value? And as you know from our discussions, we primarily sell raw, and we process a ton of books every month. Not a few hundred, 600 to 800 a month.
Yeah, because like a week we probably price 200 books a week.
Yeah.
So.
And in that processing, we're processing 12 to 1,500, with the rest of them not being priced due to grade. Even in keys, I kind of have a beat on like what their value is. And at a certain grade, I'll sell them for $5 or less.
But Dad and I did an exercise on Friday last week, which isn't relevant to you guys, but we did an exercise where we were pricing books together, and we discovered something.
Well, I've discovered it a long time ago. So.
Right, but we discovered it together again, I guess.
Yeah, it's always nice when Rachel and I continue to develop how we work together. We started working on it, and she's starting to learn how to price raw. And as you guys know, there's so much context you have to have about knowing that book's history, what people are buying right now, what people like or they don't like. There might be a series that's traditionally cold, a series that's traditionally hot, the difference between Micronauts and Transformers, which series is hot and which is not. As we're going through it, we're using cover price, and there's a lot of different pricing tools that we use. Rachel's actually really good at pricing already. It's just getting down into getting exact prices on raw books is complicated. So here's the issue that's happening, and this is new, by the way, because we've been pricing for a long time, both of us. What's new is there's a lot of raw sales, there's a lot of price reductions, and there's a lot of shift in the market. There's a lot of people on Whatnot, lots of people on Instagram and other formats buying, selling comics, Facebook Live, eBay Live. There's tons. I don't know exactly who's reporting to cover price, which connects to CLZ. And CLZ has a lot more users out there because it's probably, that I know of, the most user-friendly application if you have a large collection.
And CLZ is a way to manage inventory for your collection.
Not a sponsor.
What it is. No, not sponsored, but we
not a
use
sponsor.
them. But that's what CLZ is if you don't know.
Yeah, and Comic Connect, not a sponsor. I mean, we actually have a subscription to just about everything. I mean, just in case I want to use it,
Just in case we got a hankering. I feel like the ones we use the most, though, are Cover Price and GPA and, like, sold on eBay.
Yeah.
Those are, like, the trifecta that we typically look at.
Because we can get there. I mean, if I needed something else, that's why I have everything.
Yeah,
if I
in
need
case we're like,
else,
we need more data. We can find more data.
We can, because the rest is experience. So the rest is like what I know.
Yeah. Institutional knowledge.
5% of the time, it might be just a wild guess. It's like, we'll throw something at the wall, and if it sticks, if it doesn't, guess what? I'll keep it. I mean, put it back in the box so I can figure it out. So here's what I want to share with you that, I've been involved in organizations that had a lot of different communication points within software. How that software spoke to each other can always be problematic, and also how information gets siloed. I have some understanding about that. So I knew that whenever Cover Price and CLZ connected, that there would be like an arc of learning for systems, And then as people started to lean on it, because now I get collections and people say this is what CLZ says. That doesn't have a lot of weight with me, because I have CLZ and I have a cover price in CLZ.
And we know.
And it's like,
what it says.
Not only do I know, I mean, I've actually reached out to CLZ a lot about their systems, but I've been on cover price for years. I mean, I know how their system works, and the accuracy it's not accurate. What it does, it gives you some kind of starting point. I mean, you have to have context and you have to have other tools. If that was the only tool you had, it's a no bueno. The best thing on cover price is the link to eBay. I mean, because like, look, it's a great starting point. It says $6. Let me go to eBay. And the best thing on eBay is the sold prices, but it's nice to see what they're listed at. I mean, really all that does is give you some more context about what the highest side is. Highest side. And then the grade is almost irrelevant after it. Invariably, Rachel and I can look through 20 books. How many are going to be graded accurately if they're raw?
Yeah, not many.
It's fractional.
Yeah.
I mean, fractional. So what we're going to talk about today is that tool. How to figure out what the price is, and some anomalies we found that over and over and over again, these anomalies are showing up, and we know why. And we want to share that with you so you kind of understand where we're at and this arc we're in, this curve that I think is going to get sorted out, but never all the way about this thing.
This thing.
I think it will get sorted out when the market stabilizes after a period of time. But why don't you kind of introduce what we're talking about by bringing up a book and...
Well, I want to say too, Cover Price does say on their website that the way that they siphon their information for raw sales is based on description and the grade that it says in the description. And their reasoning is if someone's paying that amount for that grade, then our understanding is that's how much that grade costs.
Right.
So just in case we didn't explain that, that's how Cover Price siphons their information.
Say that another way. Like, what would it say on eBay? And what
so if a near mint sold for $15 on eBay that on February 1st, then a near mint, which in their software is 9.0 to 9.4, a near mint sold for $15 is how they would siphon it in.
So if a 9.0 sold for $15, then it would be near mint price $15 or a 9.4.
Exactly. So the first book we looked at was Amazing Spider-Man 256, which is the first appearance of Puma. We actually put this up for sale last week. It's a newsstand, and this one's a very fine near mint. So this is how we would look up how much this book should be in very fine near mint.
You gotta start somewhere.
We have to start somewhere. So I pull it up in Cover Price, and I look at the direct sales. That's what we typically look at, because there's not usually a lot of data.
Yeah, so what we find is a lot of sales may not include newsstand, or the software may not be picking it up as like a description item. Mm-hmm. So you're always, in most cases, the newsstand side is not picking up enough data to make an educated decision. So it's really up to the person selling to kind of decide how much more they would charge for the newsstand aspect of it.
And there's like slab data that we can look at as well, but we're looking at direct raw sales data, and I'm looking at last sale information under raw. So the last near mint sell, which is in between 9.0 and 9.4, was $5 in January of this year, 2024.
Which we consider, I mean, when you see that, that's current. That's recent enough that, that's what it is.
What it sold for, apparently. Now the fair market value says $13. So, like, that's already kind of a weird discrepancy that we're like, oh, that's weird. If you look down at very fine...
Well, wouldn't you think if you just saw that's all you saw, that the book's on the way down?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just from a basic knowledge of economics, fair market value is 13, one just sold for 5. That means A, the person got a great deal, or B, the book's on its way down,
or C, it's not the right grade. That could also be it. The grade's not right.
That's kind of a drill down deep into the transaction. Yeah.
But if you keep looking at this information, a very fine, which is considered on Cover Price 7.0 to 8.5, sold for $17 a few days before the near mint sold for $5. And so that alone is a big question mark. Like, what happened?
And what's the grade difference in that?
I said 7.0 to 8.5.
7.0 to 8.5. So,
which is also a huge range of grade.
So if it's over 3 times more, then how do you start figuring out? And were there any recent sales under that?
Yes, a fine, which is between 5.0 and 6.5, says it sold for $15 in February of 2024. I mean, $15 for a fine.
All things equal, that would actually push the very fine up to like in the 20s.
It should, yeah.
Because the way it works, every grade you're thinking is going to go up incrementally 15%. It's not going to go up 2%. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing that as it goes down, it's not going down all things equal. Mm-hmm. It's really kind of stabilizing up. So what happened was that top one's wrong.
Yeah, the $5 one.
Second one's wrong. Why do you think they're wrong?
I don't know. There's something wrong with it because that doesn't make sense.
What about what's going on the slab side?
So if you look at the most recent sales, I'm not going to talk about 9.8 because 9.8 is always an outlier. It's going to be a lot more than all the other grades, but
this is not a 9.8.
No, this is a 9.0.
Yeah.
The most recent sale that's closest to a 9.0 was a 9.2 and it sold for $59 in November. A 9.6 sold for $47 this month in February. And that tells me that the price is going down for that book. Because, like, the $59 sale was in November of last year. So, like, that just tells me the book's going down. But it's interesting because I know that that's in a top 10 list. So, there's a lot of things there that I'm like,
and another fact I'm starting to find out. So, here's Discovery 1. This is really fascinating. The market, there's a lot of slabs made, but people don't want to spend that much. What happens when you buy a $50 slab on eBay? How much do you think you're walking out the door spending?
If it's $50 on eBay?
Yeah.
Well, it would be shipping and tax on top of that.
75, 80. So I want to buy one for 45. It would have to be raw. The raw is going to cost you, let's say, $6 or $7 plus tax. But maybe it's not 45, maybe it's 35. Maybe you've decided that you're going to press it and you're going to get, so it's really people want to buy raw, but the raw prices are all askew. It's like we don't know.
No one knows how much it should be. Yeah, look and see what you're buying.
Yeah.
And if it's a low enough price, it might make sense. But what we've learned is 9.0 is not the price is not the grade that you want for this book. And this is why. Well, maybe not why, but like this is a data point. So a 9.0 newsstand sold for $20 slabbed in January. And I looked it up on eBay. It's an eBay sale. It wasn't an auction. They were the only bid. And it was for $20. Plus shipping, plus tax. It's probably, what would we say, $45?
Yeah, he charged $22.50 for shipping. So we thought, he's out the door like $47, $48.
But the book itself was $20. So on GPA, it shows that is what sold for $20. And so now that it looks like it's worth $20.
And it was only one sale. There was another sale for $30. But what's fascinating about this is neither one of those people got a $20 or $30 slab. They respectively, they got like a $45, $47 slab and a $55, $57 slab. So they're still paying above, in the $50 to $60 range, where the raw person's paying much less. So it almost seems like if you pay $20, you're paying under slab fee, so the book's worthless. And what I'm starting to figure out is, no, raw books don't go down at a certain point. Once you get under case price, the raw book starts to stabilize. And if it's worth $15, it might go to $13. It might go to $12. It's not going to go to $5.
Well, another really interesting
It's weird. I mean, you guys watch how this works, because what's losing value is the slab, not the book. The book might start to go down, but at some point the book will stop going down, but the slab keeps going down. And that's because of the low grade. Sometimes if you see this happen to a 9.6, that's a really interesting issue. You have a glutted market, but if it's like a Spider-Man, a 60-cent Spider-Man that's like a run filler, which means like not a key issue.
Just a back issue that doesn't have,
if you can get a slab for $25, you can probably get a raw one for $8 or $10. It's not going to go to $2.
I mean, it might, but it won't be the grade it says it is if it's that low.
Not a 9.6.
No, not.
You see what I'm saying? 9.6s are still really tough to get, because if you drop it, it's no longer a 9.6. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Well, so that 9.0 sold for 20. A 9.2 sold for 30, a little after that, slabbed. And then just recently, a raw 9.2 newsstand sold for $20. $10 less than the slab. And looking at the picture, we personally do not agree that it's a 9.2.
Oh, it's not.
I think it's a very fine mint.
Yeah.
Which would be the exact same price as someone bought it for a slab, which is really interesting.
It illustrates my point. Well, here's the deal. I'm going to make a really strong point that I believe to be true. If it wasn't for slabs, we really wouldn't understand what the comics are worth. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times as comics start to go up in value, you can look at the price of the slab, and when the software goes all askew and it's saying $1, $18, $12, and it's all like all of the prices are out of order, you can look at a consistent slab price if there's enough sales, and then derive what the raw price is by backing out the price of the slab itself, mm-hmm. and just look at that history. It helps a lot better than all these inaccurate prices for the raw.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's where I think slab prices do have a more consistent history, except, even in this case.
Yeah.
But when you start to get down close to the cost of a slab, all bets are off, because now slabs are going like this. You made a bad decision. You shouldn't have got that book slabbed. Watch this. Slab goes to zero, book stays here.
Well, and like...
It's interesting. I just think it's fascinating. Yeah.
If you try to go to eBay and try to buy this book in 9.0 slab for $20, you're not going to find it. Like, it's not listed anywhere for that little.
It was a one-time only engagement.
It was an auction. It was a lucky, experience that this person had. Did they get a good deal? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good deal or not for that book, considering, them buying it for $20 slabbed killed it.
Would a $20 raw be a good deal?
With the slab price, I don't know. I think that person that paid $20 raw for the 9.2, I think that's a better deal. Because they paid less than shipping.
You said it was a 9.0.
So they paid less than shipping.
Then it is.
And it just depends on if you want to slab something. Because obviously slabbing costs about the same as what you would buy a slab for.
Look, you get the highest grade you can. If you're happy with the book, it's a good deal. If the person's happy with the slab, it's a good deal. Overspending is a bad move. It just is. You buy less comic books if you overspend. If you spend twice as much as you could afford, that means you get one less comic book, two less comic books. And one day you're going to be sitting home saying, I wish I had a comic book right now, or I want to go buy a comic book, and you bought a 9.0.
I mean, at that same point, too,
you shouldn't have bought that 9.0.
Super underspending is also not great for the hobby. If you're spending way less than you should be paying for something, is that book going to be worth something later? I don't know.
Well, you can't kill a market by buying something of value for less, because what happens is good things don't sell for less.
Sure. That's fair.
When you see someone buying ounces of gold for $1, let me know. You're going to separate the wheat from the shaft. You're going to, the stuff, and I really do think that things that are not really, really high grade in the copper age, they should go for pretty cheap. Pretty cheap. If they're not 9.6, 9.8, man, you're talking about pretty cheap. That's what we do on our Friday sales. Is, for instance, I have tons of 80s, 9.6s that I'm selling for $5, $4. And I would have thought that they would go for more as a comic dealer. And they're consecutive. They're really nice. But that's the kind of the going rate. I mean, they're going the right going rate. And I'm not talking 9.2s, and I'm not talking about books. These are all uncirculated type style books. But I'm learning that it's really the highest grade stuff that commands any kind of price. After that, it turns into bulk, and it turns into stuff that is not collectible long term. It's not going to have a lot of movement in the aftermarket. What other books have we looked at that give a good example of this kind of phenomena that we're seeing that make it hard to price? This, by the way, this happens, I would say, in the copper age, this happens on half of what I look up. 3/4 of what I look up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is Secret Wars 2 #1.
And we sell 80 to 90% of what I put up for sale. So we figure it out. A lot of times we'll sell things at a price that's way lower than what someone says on eBay, or what people ask for things, because we'll look at sales and we estimate what we think the actual value is. And at times we say, okay, 10% under that. And then if we don't sell it and no one's interested, we'll cut the price right there. I mean,
or if we know ours is high grade and it's listed on eBay,
yeah,
and it says it's the same grade, but we know it's not, like, we're able to determine like what it should be worth, considering that the grade is accurate.
yeah, and that's the biggest resource we have is our customer. I mean, they vote with their pocketbook or their lack of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things are super important. We're always selling something, and we kind of know that price works. Sometimes it could be one customer. If different customers over and over will buy a certain series at a certain price, we know that that's a good price. People don't like buying things at bad prices.
Fair.
You know, if you had tons and tons of people that just like come through and they buy something, if you're at a ball game, you'll pay $11 for a beer, but you're not going to do that at the corner store. We're at the corner store. We have the same people every time. So, and there's not 20 of them. There's a lot of them, but we know them by name. So when they're buying over and over, we know our price is right, and they tell us if they're not. So
they do. They don't shy away.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is Secret Wars 2 #1. This is also a newsstand, and we are actually going to go based off of newsstand data on this one because that's the one where we found the anomaly. So in cover price, under raw, a near mint sold for $8 in October of 2023, and a very good, which is considered 3.0 to 4.5, says it sold for $10 in January of 2024. That's wrong.
Yeah, so it's wrong on every front because the book's worth more than it's saying.
It's worth more than $8 in high grade. This is a Near Mint Plus. I didn't mention that. It doesn't even have data for Near Mint Plus on here. And there's just no way in hell that a very good's $10.
So let's go through our process real quick. Let's go to eBay.
Okay, so I'm trying to find on eBay a 9.6 newsstand slabbed that is listed, and there are none.
which I mean, it helps in the price, but...
So looking at sold listings, there is a newsstand that's sold, but it's a Canadian price variant, so it's a outlier. We're not even going to talk about that one. There are 2 newsstands of Secret Wars 1 that have sold, Secret Wars 2 #1, that sold, but they were 8.5s. And they sold for $15 and $10.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you though, some people like slabs, and they don't. And when they're cheap, they just like to own a slab.
Yeah.
Because they want to have a slab collection. Mm-hmm. I think in that grade, it's going to be difficult to sell them, even because they're going to be $35 into those.
Yeah.
By the time they ship them and stuff. But there are people that like to own slabs. I would be very careful because the value on those is going to stay around that, just because that book was printed at such a high volume. This is during an era where Marvel threw everything they had at this series. This may be for casual collectors.
Sure.
For people who are, would like to be able to try to sell a book and get a high percentage of the money back. Everyone's not like that, but a lot of people may be like that. So I don't know how many people are like that.
Maybe no one.
leave a comment.
Maybe we're the only ones like that.
Are you the type of collector? Have you thought about, do you want to get the money back from your books or your family, or do you not even think about that stuff?
I don't know how many 9.6 newsstands there are of this book because the census doesn't separate them.
They haven't been doing it long enough to have a good beat on that, because the fact is there's probably tons of newsstands out there that it's not on the label, so it's not going to be listed on here. Mm-hmm. I think the optimal way to own this book, if you wanted a copy, but you wanted a copy that was less common, would be a newsstand or a Canadian price variant. Mm-hmm. 9.8 white pages. It's not a highly sought after book because it's pretty common.
376 9.8s, 940 total. 948 total slabbed.
That's really not a bad census number, 30%.
Yeah, 9.8s are the most slabbed. 217 9.6s.
What do we value that at? $22? I think that's right.
Yeah, we priced it at $22. Okay, so the last one we're going to talk about is Wonder Woman #9, the George Perez run.
Oh yeah, this is the first appearance of Cheetah. This had there was spec around this a couple years back. Got really hot when everything was getting hot.
Time.
Everything was hot. It was like every day I'd wake up and hop out of bed. What comic is hot today, and do I have it?
Oh, that's really funny. A Near Mint Plus sold for $5 on February 4th of 2024. A very fine says it sold for $15 in February, and a fine sold for $10 in February.
Yeah.
What?
So, and this is, I mean, it's rampant in this era, and that's all we're sharing with you guys, that there's actually a way to work through this. I hope that we're doing a good job of kind of talking around how we work through it. It really has to do with slab prices. You kind of need to look at GPA for that. Or if you use Go Collect, I mean, Go Collect's fine by looking, kind of observing what slabs have done. Don't look at one sale. Whatever you do, don't look at one sale, because there's outliers left and right.
Well, we looked up both the $5 sale for Near Mint and the very fine sale.
This is interesting.
And very minimal research to figure out why this happened. So the very fine sale that said it sold for $15 is wrong. It looks like it sold in February. A very fine plus sold in February, but it was less than $14.95. So it was listed for $14.95. It sold, but it sold for less. We don't know how much, because it was like an offer that the seller accepted. For whatever reason, Cover Price took it as a $15 sale, even though it wasn't. The Near Mint sale happened like a couple days after that for $5. And just with a quick glance, like, it's not a Near Mint
At all.
It's got color breaks, and it's not a Near Mint book. So
yeah,
again,
I mean,
it's just another thing. It's like, okay, the information's not correct in there.
the tools that we are getting accustomed to using are not that accurate. We have to use what we know a great deal in order to get the most out of the tools, which is possible. You know, if you're new back to the hobby in the last couple of years, and I think a lot of people that watch this channel and others are, I just encourage you to continue to watch content that you feel you're getting a lot out of, that doesn't bore you too bad. But some of this stuff can be really helpful in helping you to refine your collecting goals. If you're just trying to get information because you really enjoy the hobby and you're trying to figure out, like, hey, I'd like to get some comic books, or I want to figure out where to buy them, or I want to sell my comic, whatever it is, there's enough information out there for you to DIY just about anything. Everything that we talked about today, other people are talking about other aspects of it, probably not as long as we did today. So I hope that you're still, is anyone there?
We just thought this was interesting. I also hope that, like, no one feels like we're bashing them. We just like to tell you what we see.
I don't think we're bashing anyone. And we just touched on this too. Pricing is difficult. A lot of people don't share information. A lot of people, it's confidential to their business. We're pretty open about it because, I mean, we do the best we can to be fair because we like to stay in business. So, I mean, that's kind of our perspective.
Yeah.
And we're not, you know, I used to want to be like big time. We're not big time.
Well, and that's why we offer two different types of sales now, because we have these books that are not high grade, and we know people want to be able to get books at a price that makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And they're still nice. They're just not like Near Mint, whatever. Like, those books are gonna be a lot more affordable.
Yeah.
And they should be more affordable.
And we have another, we do something else that is that. So, I mean, we do this all the time, so we're immersed in that. And in doing that, we have a lot of experiences. I've been doing this for a long time, and we just decided a long time ago to share those experiences with you guys. And here we are.
We're here.
So,
we're doing it.
We're going to see you again soon. We have a fun video coming up I think you guys are going to enjoy. So we'll be here next time.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow us over on Instagram. We do claim sales every Monday and every Friday.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.